It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Before we get into this episode, if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and review on whichever platform you're listening to this on. This helps us go up in the rankings and reach more people. So thank you in advance for supporting us in that way. Also, if you want to join the Bread investing community, you can do so for just $1 for your first week. Check out our content, see all our past sessions, access some of our ad-free episodes. That's a new benefit this year. We're giving access to our top episodes ad-free twice a month, and there's so much more. So if you're interested, click the link below in the show notes, and I'll see you in there. All right, episode 100. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful that we've made it this far. For those of you who are not podcasters, podcasting is not easy. It's definitely a labor of love. But if you love what you do and you're passionate about it, it'll keep you going. So I thank you all for being here, whether this is your first episode, whether you've been here since episode 1. It means a whole lot to me. I don't take it for granted how many people are tuned in week and week out. So I really appreciate it. For this episode, I wanted to do something special. I wanted to have you all make the episode. So I wanted to answer the questions that you all have, your burning real estate questions, to the best of my ability. And so we got a good number of questions that were submitted. We have maybe 8 or 9 that we're going to go through today. And so it's going to be answered from my perspective, my opinion, my experience. And then I also use Investopedia and the IRS website to answer some of these questions. So let's just jump right into it. And again, shout out to everyone who submitted a question. So Lael_simple on Instagram asked a great question. She said, is it realistically easy to start, especially in the current climate? So in my opinion, it doesn't have to be complicated. I know there's a lot of information out there about real estate, and it's kind of difficult to figure out which direction you want to go in. And so what I recommend is the first step. The first step is education. So you have to learn about different investing strategies and determine what's best for you. You may not be inclined to flip. You may not be inclined to do Airbnb. Maybe you want to do buy and hold investing. So it's important to educate yourself. And so I'll take this back in the simplest terms possible. You can take the time to learn about buying and holding. And some of you might be new. You might not know anything about real estate. This might be your first episode. And so buying and holding is basically buying a property with the purpose to rent it out for income or for cash flow. So you can do this locally. You can do this out of state like I do. If you want to do this locally in the city that you live in, one thing you may want to consider is using the FHA loan. The FHA loan allows you to buy a property for as low as 3.5% down. There's another program called NACA, which allows you to purchase property for 0% down. Obviously, there's a lot more details to it, but if you're just starting out, that's what I'll recommend. Just understanding the basics and figuring out what works for you. And so in the Bread investing community, we have a class that was taught by Mark Jones II, aka Live and Rent Free, my guy, about the NACA program. So he went through all the details of the program. He actually went through the program himself. And so I recommend checking out that session of the community. You can start in the community, as I mentioned, for just $1. So if you're interested in that, click the link below in the show notes. And also, if where you live is too expensive, investing out of state is a good option as well. And so I recommend learning about that. So in my personal situation, I live in LA. I couldn't afford to invest the way I wanted to out here. I didn't have 20% down to put on a $600,000, $800,000 property. So I decided to go out of state. And so if you're interested in investing out of state, I recommend my course, A Beginner's Guide to Buying Your First Out of State Property. It'll show you how to build your team. It'll show you financing strategies, how to analyze properties, and a whole lot more. And so, just to recap, I would say, first, educate yourself, find out about different strategies, find out about flipping, find out about Airbnb, find out about buy and hold, find out about these different things and figure out what resonates with you. That's what I did. I learned about everything. And at a certain point, certain things clicked. And I'm like, I think out of state is going to be it for me. And we have 100+ episodes where you can learn about all these strategies, or you can join the Bread investing community if you want a little more hands-on support. So that's what I would say. And then also the course is 50% off for anyone who listens to this episode with the code New Year, you'll get it for 50% off. And so again, it's not difficult to start. The most daunting part is financing and the education, but start with education, choose a strategy, create a plan, and then execute it. Don't psych yourself out. Don't make it feel like this big thing. I thought it was this big thing, but it's very possible and it's very doable. You just need the right information and execution. So hopefully that answered your question. Thank you. All right, the next question is, what are your podcast goals for next year? From Pamela Grace, who's actually my sister. Thanks, Pam. So I have a number of goals, right? But I will talk about a couple of them today. So one of my goals is to crack the top 50 on the Apple Podcast business charts. And as I say, every episode, every rating, every review, every subscribe, it helps us go up in the ranking. So that's one of my goals, to get into the top 50 in the Apple Podcast business charts. Last year, we had 140,000 downloads. So this year, my goal is 500,000 downloads. And I'm very confident that we'll hit it, of course, with your support, but we're also kicking up the content. And so this year, I'll be releasing content on YouTube and on the podcast platforms 3 times per week. And so Mondays will be the regular episodes with our guest or solo episodes with me. Wednesdays will be mashups. So these mashups will be about 20 minutes long, and they'll be on a certain topic from past guests. So last week we had investing in real estate while paying off debt with 2 past guests. So that's going to continue to be the format of it. So that'll be released every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then Fridays, it'll be a clip from the Bread Investing Community speaker session. So it'll be a quick 10-minute excerpt from a lesson that someone taught inside of the community, just so you all can understand what it's structured and get a little taste of it. And if you want to join the community, you can also do so for $1 after watching those videos or listening to those clips. And so the idea behind it is really just to provide more value to you all. And a byproduct of that is going to be more downloads. So that's definitely a couple of my goals. There's a whole lot more, but I'm not going to give you all of the goals. But as we reach milestones throughout the year, I'll definitely be sure to let y'all know. So the next question is from Cleopatra_baby. And it was an excellent question. I love this question. It said, how do you get over fear? And so first, I want you to know that it's normal to have fear. It's normal to be nervous about real estate. It's very daunting to many of us. Many of us come from families who have been lifelong renters and have never owned a property, or some people are part of families who maybe they lost their home due to foreclosure. They couldn't pay the mortgage or something happened and they had to sell the house or lost the house. And so it's new to many of us. So I don't want any of you, including you, Cleopatra, to feel like your fear is not valid. On the flip side, I also encourage you to learn as much as possible about the strategy you want to pursue in real estate. Earlier in the episode, I mentioned the importance of education and learning about the different strategies within real estate. And so if you prepare for your first buy and hold, for your first flip, you'll be more confident in the execution. It's almost like taking a test in school. If you study, if you're prepared, you feel a bit more confident going to the test. Does not mean you're going to get 100 on the test, but you prepare, so you feel a little bit more confident. And things will go wrong, right? Things go wrong all the time, but if you're prepared and you're confident, your outlook on it will be different, and you'll be set up for success. And so eventually you're just going to have to jump off the deep end. You got to get in the game, right? And so that's something that you want to consider. You may not always be 100% ready. You may not always be 100% fearless, and that's okay, right? Everyone has this struggle sometimes. Things won't go perfectly again, but the important thing is to learn from it. Everything won't go perfectly. I had a rehab last year. Everything didn't go perfectly by far, right? But we got it done. There's a tenant in there, and I have a whole lot of lessons that will help me to create more products to help and serve you all, right? So you have to see it that way. You got to see it as whatever you learn throughout the process, whether you're wholesaling, whether you're doing buy and hold, whether you're flipping, whether you're doing Airbnb, there's always lessons. So see it as lessons when it doesn't go as planned. And eventually you just got to jump in there and get over that fear.
Are you looking for a community of like-minded individuals and access to experts in real estate?
Yeah.
Are you interested in real estate but need more support and guidance? The Black Real Estate Dialogue presents the Real Estate Investing Community. No matter how much or how little real estate experience you have, we've created a community for you because your perspective is important. All right, tell me, where's the number one place where you can do Q&A with experienced guest speakers 2 times per month? How about unlimited access to past guest speakers' recordings? What about a private Slack channel to engage in daily discussion with everybody in the community to share resources and support each other? Head on over to blackrealestatedialogue.com. That's blackrealestatedialogue.com. It's the real estate investing community presented by the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Come join us today.
The next question is from Marquise_Braxton. So the question is, for first-time home buyers, should you get FHA or conventional? I love this question. And for this example, I'm going to assume you're looking for a primary residence. So we'll start with a couple basic terms for those who might be new to the terms that I'm going to share. So the FHA loan allows you to buy 1 to 4 units for 3.5% down. The credit score requirements are typically less strict than other programs, which is good. A lot of people use FHA to get started just because of the low cost and because not everybody has the best credit, but this particular loan allows you to buy properties if you meet a certain credit threshold that's reachable for a lot more people. The other option, not the only, but the other option is a conventional loan. So this allows you to buy property from 3 to 20% down. Now, here is the disclaimer. How much you put down depends on your personal situation and mortgage product. So if you have a conventional loan, in theory, you can fall anywhere between 3 and 20, but it might be 20, depending on your personal situation, depending on the mortgage product that you get. So my best recommendation is to sit with a lender and discuss your situation. And then ultimately, you'll see what's best for you, right? It's good to go into those meetings with some level of information, but ultimately, a lender will be able to look at your situation and see what you can qualify for, see what different programs might be a fit for you. So I would say do a little bit of research, look into FHA conventional at the very basic level, and then sit with a lender and different banks to learn more about what products they offer and how they can help you. That'd be my best recommendation. I personally don't think there's one that's better. A lot of people recommend going with FHA for your first property. It depends on your goals, right? If you want to be an investor, if you want to have multiple units, that's something to consider as well. There's so many factors to consider. And so sitting with a professional who can give you that one-on-one attention, I think could definitely help you out. The next question is from Valorate10. She's been following me for a while. So thank you for your support. She's been a supporter of the show probably before I even had 1,000 followers. So shout out to you for your question. So her question is, what are some of the tax write-offs you can use when you acquire your first investment property? This is a great question. And before I go into it, I'm going to say, I am not a tax professional. I have an accountant who I'm going to talk about in a second, but I'm not a tax professional. So I'm providing some tips based on my experience and also from the IRS website. So just a quick disclaimer. So a couple of things you can write off when you have an investment property is mortgage interest, property taxes, repairs, and insurance. And so we had a session in the Bread Investing community from Marjorie McPike, CPA, who is obviously a CPA, and she is the CPA who I've been using for several years. She's awesome. She went through a lot of the tax write-offs and strategies that investors can use when it comes to your investment property. So those are a couple of things. There are certainly way more. My recommendation is to check out that session in the community and then also talk to a tax professional if you need a recommendation. I can't recommend Marjorie enough. So send me a message if you're interested in her services. So you can access that particular class and all the other classes in the community. We have over 20, and you can get started for just $1. Click the link below in the show notes and you can get started. I love this one as well. And this tied into the mashup that we had last week. And so this is from nomadic.nerd09. And it was, do you have any advice on buying a home, even if you have student loans? So it's possible, it's definitely possible to buy a home with student loans. I have student loans. I had student loans when I purchased my property. I still have student loans and I still invested. We've had so many guests who've invested with loans as well. There's a couple things. If you plan to buy a property in cash, which some people do, maybe you live in a cheap area and or you have access to capital. If you plan to buy cash, it doesn't matter what personal debt you have. However, if you plan on getting a mortgage, that's where it might come into play. So again, like a lender will be able to let you know how much you can qualify for based on your income, your debt, and all those other factors. So definitely sit with a lender, but just know it's still possible. It's still possible to invest. So don't take yourself out of the game simply because you have student loans. It's still possible. You just need to sit with a professional who can help you better understand what you can qualify for if you plan to use some financing. All right. So our final question, our second to last question actually is from Joe_Joe. So Joe's question was, I've been told it's best to get your rental properties under an LLC. Is it too late if I already have properties in my name? So Joe, the first thing I would say to you and to anyone else who is considering this is to evaluate why you want to put your property or properties into an LLC versus your personal name. Now, if your reason is because someone told me to, or because I heard it's cool on the internet, that is, in my opinion, not sufficient. You really want to understand the ins and outs of each, the advantages and the disadvantages of each option as well. And so my personal opinion is that just make sure you're doing your research and you're doing it because it makes sense for you. There are people who do both, right? We had guests who have done both, kind of a hybrid of both. We've had guests who've done all one, all personal or all LLCs. It really just depends on your personal preference. Secondly, I recommend looking into umbrella insurance if you don't have that already to see if it provides the additional protection you might be looking for. And that's something you might want to look into if you're looking for some additional protection. And maybe it'll answer the question of if you want to put your properties in an LLC. Lastly, I'm not an attorney, so I recommend talking to an attorney to discuss which option is best for you. A real estate attorney should be able to let you know based on your situation what makes the most sense, or at least give you enough information so you can make an informed decision. So those are a couple quick tips, but I recommend sitting with a professional for sure to dive a bit deeper into your personal situation. All right, last but not least, we have our last question for, I believe it's Viajes_the_Jiffy. I may or may not have pronounced that correctly, but it's all good. You know who you are. So this question is, my first investment property is going to be BRRRR. And for those who don't know what BRRRR means, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Which is better to refinance with, a small bank or a big bank? Excellent question. Again, there's not necessarily one that's better. I recommend connecting with small and large banks and seeing what they offer. Sit with the bankers, let them know what you're trying to do, build those relationships and see what kind of products they offer, what kind of programs they offer. And from there, you just decide what's best, right? And so one of our past guests, Henry Washington, we've had him on the show twice. He taught a class in the bread investing community on getting financing from small banks. He's mostly used small banks and he scaled his rental portfolio to 70 doors and counting. I can't keep up with the brother because every time I talk to him, he's closing on a new deal, or if I see him on Instagram, he's closing on a new deal. So I recommend watching that session. He just gave all the game about why he uses small banks, and perhaps that can help you with your decision making. And so you can access that class and of course all the other classes by joining the community. You can start for just $1. Again, link is in the show notes, or go to blackrealestatedialogue.com. But I think it'll certainly help you out to understand the advantages of small banks. All right, well, that's it for episode 100. Again, I'm so excited about 2022 and everything that we'll have going on. You know, I started this podcast in October 2019, and, you know, I didn't imagine that it would grow to what it has become now. You know, initially I started it and I just wanted to help my community. I didn't want to be someone who's on the sidelines complaining about what we have and what we don't have. And so, you know, I wanted to provide a solution. And so I'm very thankful and very grateful that I've been blessed to do that so far. And so I really appreciate all of you, all of your support, all your comments, all your likes on Instagram, subscribing, sharing the podcast, tagging me in stuff and your success stories. If you've purchased anything, whether it was merch, whether it was a phone case, whether it was a course, whether you just did a $1 trial to the community, however you supported me, I really do appreciate it. And I have to shout out a couple of people who really have been a big part in making this possible. First is the producer, Donald the Voice. I really appreciate him. I really appreciate you, man, and just helping me to produce the best content possible. You know, the content improved, the quality improved so much last year because of you. So I really appreciate it. And also my guy, Josh Foster. He does all the designs, so logo, course covers, website, everything you can think of design-wise was thanks to Josh. And also thanks to Pam, who has been my sister, who has been my VA at certain times during the past year or so, helping me to become more efficient, more effective in the work, and really helping us to grow as well. And so there's so many more people I can thank. Of course, want to also thank my wife for her support and just helping me day in and day out as I'm growing this brand and building this business. So, you know, really am so thankful. If I forgot you, please forgive me. You know who you are and you know how you've helped out. And so I thank you all so very much. I cannot wait to see your success in 2022. I cannot wait to see our success in 2022. And so thank you. And before I forget, once again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on whichever platform you're listening to this on. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. I'm shouting out all 5-star ratings and reviews. And then lastly, if you want to join the Bread Investing community, you can do so for just $1. Click the link below in the show notes or go to blackrealestatedialogue.com. Thank you again. Look forward to hearing from you all soon.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.